My guest today is Thola Bennie, and I'm glad to have you come and talk to us today, Thola, all the way from Cape Town, South Africa. Yeah,
Yes.
welcome.
Thank you for having me. Thank you so much, Jen. Appreciate it.
Absolutely. So, after block, we're gonna say and ask, tell us, you're a solo mom, but I want you to tell us your, in brief, your story in short.
Everyone always says
Huh?
who I am. No, I'm saying I feel like it's everyone's fear that, but my story is not interesting. But I've learned now that every story is interesting.
Every story is interesting.
Right, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I am South African. I grew up in the east part of the country, the eastern coast, the city called Durban, and I moved to Cape Town 10 years ago for job opportunities. I was actually starting a PhD program in psychology, but later on I dropped off of that later on, so I didn't finish. But I've been in Cape Town now for 10 years. I'm a mother of two beautiful girls. They are grown up because the baby is 21 and the older one is 26. Solo mom, obviously divorced for many years now.
Okay. All right. And thank you. And I should add that this is not the first time I'm meeting Thola over a video, because Thola interviewed me last week and we had fun with that. So tell me, Thola, tell us, how did you become a solo mom? Tell us your story.
How did I be? I got divorced, obviously. So, I was married for 20 years, I think. Yeah, that's what it is. And I think for me, we just grew apart. You meet someone when you're young and you think you want the same things out of life. But the Lord blessed us with 20 years and two beautiful girls. But after 20 years, I realized it was me actually who realized that it's not exactly what I want for my life. We're just at different stages of our lives. So I am the one who bowed out of the whole institution of marriage. So, and then I became a solo mom, and I've been doing it now.
Well,
for 5 years.
I'm wondering if we're losing you.
Yeah, there was a bit of a break.
Can you hear me?
But I can hear you. Yes.
Okay.
I can hear you okay.
All right, thanks. Yeah, I can hear you now. For a while I couldn't, so I'm not really sure how much of that we caught, but that's okay. We'll get this story. All right. So I like to, ask these questions because I know who's listening. And a lot of times as solo moms, we think we're alone and our situation is unique, but our situations are seldom unique. So tell us, what was your biggest struggle after divorce and, raising your children?
Right. I think for me, I was married to a man who was very hands-on. And by that, I mean, he literally did everything in terms of running the household. Not, and I don't mean financially because we were both employed, but I mean, he was just responsible for everything. If the light was off, the bulb, he would fix it. If the swimming pool was stuck, he would get in there and fix it. So what it did for me, though, which is something that I learned in hindsight, is that it disempowered me. And I'm saying that because when I was on my own for the first time, I then had to learn to run a household on my own.
Mm-hmm.
meaning it's just me and my two girls. So when a light bulb goes off, it's me. I'm now the
Yeah,
adult
yeah.
in this household. And whatever, when there's someone at the door saying, can I speak to whoever, the owner of the house, that's me. So it was a lot of
Mm-hmm.
just having to take on responsibilities that I previously had not. I had just literally left everything onto my ex's, hands, because he was always happy to do
Yeah,
everything. Um, and
right.
another example that I've told people before, things like even traveling. We are a family that travels a lot, but before, when we used to travel, he would take care of everything. So he would take care of the bookings, he would take care of the
Mm-hmm.
passports, he had the passports in his hands, he had this, he had that. And so when I had to travel for the first time on my own or with the girls, it was now like, oh my word, I have to do this on my own. I have to do this on my own. If you get a tire
Yes.
puncture, then there's no one else but you. So basically, what
Yeah.
I'm saying is, I have had to learn, since becoming a solo mom, I've had to learn to be more responsible, and it has empowered me. I look at it in a positive
Yes.
sense, honestly.
Yes. Well, yeah. Well, it is a positive thing, and I guess sometimes we forget that when we're married, we have a partnership, and it's two become one. And when you're divorced,
Yes,
there's a break in that, and so each person will have to adjust and readjust to the new life. So yeah, it's gonna be a struggle, and there's no
mm,
I don't think that there's anything negative about either situation. If you're married and
yeah,
your
me too.
spouse take control of certain things, as long as it's a mutual thing, there's nothing wrong with that, you know.
Right,
But what happens is that when there's divorce, then each have to learn to live without the other. It's just normal,
right.
right? Yeah.
And to
Okay. Thank you.
pick on the responsibilities that the
Yeah.
other used to take care of.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, because one is no longer one. One's now split in two. So, each have to find their own way. So,
Yes.
yeah, it's just reality, right?
Right. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. All right. So, moving on. Thank you for sharing, the personal
Hmm.
stuff with us. Um, I I got to meet you over, connections through Matchmaker, because you have a podcast. Tell us about the podcast, and also tell us about, you know, actually, hold that. Just tell me about the podcast first. That's something I want to ask. Yeah.
Yeah. So the podcast is called Phoenix Rising, Finding Your
Mhm.
Life Calling with Thola Bennie, which is my name. I
Mhm.
started the podcast about 2 years ago now. We were in lockdown, right? When the countries went into lockdown, when the pandemic hit
Mhm.
the world. And I
Yes.
was at home thinking what to do with myself. And then I started blogging actually before the podcast. So I started blogging just I like telling stories. I have since realized something I didn't know about myself.
Mhm.
And I would write about my travel experiences. I've traveled a lot in my previous job. And I would write, and then I started interviewing people about their experiences of living under lockdown.
Mhm.
Like, how is it working out for you? What are you doing? How has it affected your life personally and
Mhm.
professionally? And then I realized, so what I used to do is I would send someone a questionnaire and say, would you mind answering these questions for me? And then I would write them out in a blog. But then I realized, no, this would actually flow nicely if we were talking and it was more interactive,
Yes.
like we're doing now.
Yeah.
So, you can
Yeah.
ask probing questions or whatever. And also, it's nice. You can read the energy. You make that contact,
Mhm.
personal contact with the person. And that's what
Yeah.
led me to blogging, because at the same time I was listening, again, being at home, lockdown, finding things to entertain myself. I was listening to other podcasts. Mainly I was doing French, like taking French lessons. And then I was listening to this French podcast, which obviously led me to other podcasts. I discovered other podcasts. And then, everything coming together like,
Yes.
why don't I start my own podcast? And so it's called Phoenix Rising because it's about, everyone that I interview to some degree or other, they have experienced some challenge in their life or some adversity or whatever it is, and how they rise from that to become the people that they are. Like yourself. So everyone who comes to my podcast is someone who has had to rise from the ashes to become the person that they are. So that's the podcast in a nutshell.
Okay. All right. Thank you. I noticed that the stories are there from people who are rising. So that's great. So if you are able to share, tell us what, I know you, from an academic standpoint, you started a podcast because it was a natural progression from blogging and interviewing. But did you start those interviews on overcoming challenge because of your own personal experience, or did you was it just something you thought about?
Yes. So what had also happened, which I didn't mention when I was doing the intro, is that I had lost my job. I was working in academia, actually. I was working as a research psychologist. So I had been doing research for many years, 15 plus years. When working in clinical trials, HIV prevention clinical trials, and mainly funded by people like the Gates Foundation and people like the US government. And then what happened is we lost funding. The organization that I was working for, our funding was not renewed. And so then they had to let some people go. And I happened to be one of those people. So I lost my job, which I never imagined. I mean, I have a master's degree in psychology. So I had never imagined that I could lose a job and find myself unemployed one day. And so it happened to me. And, me starting a blog and doing all of those things. And also I did the life coaching training was my way of now charting a whole new life for myself and saying, okay, I've lost that. Let's consider that chapter closed and let's find something to do going forward. So again, like a phoenix rising out of the ashes and trying to find something new. And that is why, therefore, everybody that I interview is someone who shares a similar story, of having lost something, whether they've lost their job or they've lost whatever they've lost, and having to restructure their life going forward.
Right. Yeah, I like that. I actually really like that. And, it just brings to light that, every story you read on Instagram didn't start there, right? They started somewhere else. Yeah.
There's a story.
Exactly. Yeah. Okay. So what is Thola grateful for today?
Oh my gosh, everything. I'm just grateful for everything. My children, I thank God for my children every day because they have kept me going. They've kept me going when times were dark, when times were really dark. And I, when you get to a point where you're like, I don't see what's there to live for. But then it's like, I have 2 kids. There's something to live for. So I'm grateful for my babies. I'm grateful for health because I exercise every day, every second day. So I always, thank God for my health. For my age, I think I'm quite healthy and fit and all of that. So maybe you asked for one thing and I'm giving you too many things that I'm grateful for.
Okay. All right.
I apologize.
No. I asked you what you were grateful for today. So, you know, you are grateful for a lot of things. So that's fine. Yeah. Thank you. Yeah. Yeah. Thank you very much. And how can someone get in touch with you if they wanted, you know, if you have services, tell us about them and how we can get in touch with you.
Yes. So the two easy ways to do it. I have a website, my blog, which is called ZuluSingleandFab.com. Zulu because I'm Zulu, that's my ethnicity. And so it's called ZuluSingleandFab.com. And so there I blog about, you know, travel. I blog about health and fitness. I also have a page that just describes what I do in terms of life coaching. And I have a bit about the podcast as well. So a whole lot of information is really on that website. And I'm also fairly active on Instagram. I've cut down a lot and it's really for my mental health. So I used to be quite active on Instagram, you know, try and post every day or every second day. But to be honest, I've cut back a lot and, but I still keep an active profile on Instagram. So there they can see, you know, what I'm up to, podcasts mainly and also other things. Yeah.
Okay. And what's your handle on Instagram?
It's Phoenix _rising 00. So Phoenix _ rising 00. And then I've also I've got a business page on Instagram as well, and it's Phoenix Rising Life Coach. So yeah. So there I put stuff on life coaching.
All right. Okay. So I'll put those links in the show notes as well, so people will have access to your page and your Instagram. Yeah, for sure. All right. And I always ask this question. Give me an advice for a solo mom. Like,
oh, sure. To love yourself first. And loving yourself is not being selfish. I want all solo moms to know that, because we always feel guilty that, you know, oh, we should be loving our kids more, or, you know, being more attentive to them and all of that. Loving yourself first doesn't take anything away from your children. Actually, you know the saying, you cannot pour from an empty cup. I'm a firm believer. So you have to fill your cup first before you can fill other people's cups. So yeah, I'm an advocate for loving yourself. However that looks.
Me too.
Whatever, I don't know what loving yourself looks like to you, whether it means soaking yourself in a bathtub for 45 minutes, you know, at the end of the day when everybody goes to bed, or it means getting a manicure. I don't know what it looks like to you, but whatever that looks like to you, I highly recommend that you try and fit that in every day, something that makes you happy every day.
Yes. Thank you very much. Thank you, Thola Bennie, for coming and talking to us today. And I hope to see you again. And I'll follow along on Phoenix Rising podcast. Did I have that name right?
Yes. Phoenix.
Okay.
Yeah,
Phoenix
so we have
Rising
a YouTube
podcast
page as well.
Okay.
Yeah, the podcast has a YouTube page. Yeah, Phoenix Rising podcast. All right. So yeah.
Cool. Okay, cool.
You.
So that's Phoenix
so
Rising with Thola Bennie. Sure. Thank
you so much. So appreciate you, Jen. Keep well.